Ho ho ho! Merry Christmas, everybody! This is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you in the month of December, since it is Christmas time and the holiday time, about A Christmas Story Christmas. So I finally decided to watch A Christmas Story Christmas, the long-awaited sequel to the 1983 A Christmas Story. Well, somewhat long-awaited sequel. There's been multiple sequels, but always recast with brand new casts and everything. I've never seen them, I'm never going to see them. But I decided, hey, since the original, well, my original Ralphie came back and the rest of the group, I was gonna watch it. So I was worried though. I didn't want to watch it at first. I'm like, okay, what if they like ruin it? Or like, what if it doesn't like hold up to like the original? Or what if they play it too safe? Or like what's gonna happen? You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, I was very pleased watching this movie. It's a nice Christmas movie. It's very pleasant. It tugs on the nostalgia crave of like the 1983 movie a bit too much for the most part. They played it a bit too safe. I would have liked it to be a bit more like engaging, I guess you could say, like more character development, a better, like a stronger plot. 'Cause the plot's fine. I just wish the plot and the story was like stronger and more evolved instead of just like, rehashing things from like, the 1983 movie. But for the most part, because it's kind of like, kind of what's going on in the trailer. Ralphie's dad, the old man, is dead. He comes back to see his mom, who's older now, and he has a family, and like, he's getting Christmas ready like his father did and stuff. And you see like the old gang, he hangs out with his old friends, and the bully is now like a cop, and so like, so what's gonna happen in the movie. So like you expect this and that to happen, and for most part it does. And so with this movie, I was kind of hoping, because I was wondering if they're gonna just focus on Ralphie and his group of friends, or are they gonna do kind of like a bait and switch thing where it's just like they focus on the kids. For the most part, it just focuses on Ralphie, to tell you the truth. He is the central main character. But for the most part, he is really the only character who is like fleshed out. All the other characters need stronger character development, and you really don't know much about them other than what Ralphie tells us in the narration. We get to see a little bit of their personality here and there, but it's very little and stuff. And so with the two kids, who are very interesting, especially the daughter, I wanted to see more of them. I kind of wanted a bit of what is it? Bait and switch. Because I kind of wanted it to focus, but then again, if they would have bait and switched it with the kids, then it would have been like an extreme rehash of like the original. But for the most part, it kind of is a rehash of like the original, but just with an older Ralphie and a different motive this time. And so, but I still wanted to see more of the kids because they're not really fleshed out that well. And you get little tidbits of them, but it's kind of like, why are they like that? Especially like with the wife. Why did Ralphie marry her? Don't know. And stuff like that. Like, what is like to her that makes her her, other than her saying she used to like figure skate at one point, and that's about it. And we don't even get to see that because she hurts her ankle. And so, like, with this movie, basically what happens is this: Ralphie is now set in 1970 something, probably 79. And so Ralphie lives in Chicago. He joined the military at one point. He's out, and now he's a writer. And he's trying to write, I think, science fiction or fantasy or something like that. And so, like, I was expecting him to write, like, cowboy stuff. That's how he was in, like, the 1983 movie. But I don't know exactly what he writes, but he writes, like, fiction, I know. Well, nobody wants to publish his stuff because he's too wordy. Basically, he has, like, 2,000 pages worth of, like, a manuscript and everything, and nobody wants to publish it, and they don't really like what he writes. And so, like, his parents always come to visit for Christmas, but then he gets that dreaded phone call of his father passed away. And so he returns, but he doesn't really want to see his old friends because he didn't want to return home until he became like a big shot. And he like hasn't, but he's desperately trying to get his thing published. So that is the new motive for him. So in the original, it was him getting that BB gun air rifle thing, and now it's him getting his thing published. Only problem with this story is my problem with this subplot is that it disappears from the rest of the movie. It gets brought back up in the middle, like once, and then it gets brought back up towards the end. And so, like, but in the whole BB gun thing, did a similar thing, but the whole BB gun thing kept getting brought up like a lot during like the first movie. Also, he has to write the like obituary for like his dad, and he's having a hard time with that. Now, the mother has been recast, and she's been recast with a new actress who, I don't know, I think they might have put prosthetics on her to make her look a little bit older. She is in her 70s, but I think they made her look older than what she is because when you look at pictures of her from 3 years ago, she don't look that old unless she really aged really fast. So, my bad. And so with her, her personality is completely different. Now she's more like just the sweet old like lady who's a little bit eccentric at times. She doesn't seem the way like the other actress used to be or how she was written. Because the other actress, the mother was like the matriarch of like that family. She did like a lot, and stuff like that. You have to pay like real close attention to the first movie because she actually does a whole lot more, but she mostly does like motherly stuff. And for the most part, her husband literally just died like a couple of days ago. And she seems totally fine with that. Like she's constantly smiling throughout the movie. She doesn't seem like upset or like nothing like that. So it's kind of odd. It's like, didn't she love him? Like, because we know in the first movie, she clearly loved him and everything. They was like the awkward little like, couple and everything, the odd couple. But here she's just constantly smiling and just going about her day. And I'm just like, dude, didn't you just love your husband? Like he just died. Grieve a little bit. And Ralphie, he grieves a little. He really loved that man, and he grieved more than like the mother did and stuff and everything. But he does have a hard time with the obituary, and he stops and he realizes, he's just not a good writer, and he feels like he's a loser and stuff. But I really wish they would have made him more angry at that part. Like I wish, like he would have been like really mad his father died, and really mad that he keeps messing up during Christmas. Because the cool thing about this is that Ralphie messes up a lot trying to get like the perfect Christmas. But he's repeating everything like his dad did. So it's that nostalgia, but it's not really upping the ante because we've seen it before. But he doesn't really get mad when things go wrong. He just stays kind of like, oh, like that, you know what I'm saying? But then he does have like a part where he really does like let it out, but he doesn't let it out in an angry way. He's more like a somber, nice kind of way and stuff. And so like at some point his wife saw what he wrote for his dad. He didn't write like a paragraph, he wrote like pages where, and she sent it to the newspaper and they published it and everything, and everybody loved it. And then of course like they wanted him to write more, so now he has like a new job hobby type thing, and everything's like wrapped up in the bow for him and everything. But it's kind of like, so that was a good thing. They went back to the whole him being a writer thing, but it wasn't even him that really submitted it, it was like her. And so, but like with the rest of the movie, you assume that, he would be hanging out with his old friends like constantly in the movie. That's the way it made it look like in the trailer. But it's not. When we do get to his friends, one of them owns a bar and the other one just drinks there for free on the tab. And for the most part, they have no character development because they're still the exact same way they were in the original movie. They're constantly like ripping on each other. They're constantly arguing with each other. And now the other boy is there, and the other boy to do something crazy, but it's not as crazy as like the pole thing. It's like an abandoned like slide type thing. So he takes the sled and he goes down it, but he's okay. So it's not like the whole like tongue on the pole frozen thing. And so it's the nostalgia for that, but they didn't like up the ante. And the only thing we know about them is that one inherited the bar from his dad, and the other one lives at home with his mom. So once again, it's another like middle-aged man living with his mom joke, and I hate those things. They've been doing that joke for decades. People need to get up with that, man. Just leave it alone. Like when women come back to live with their parents, you never hear nothing about that. But it's always like the men and stuff. And so, for the most part, there is no character development with the two best friends. And so, with the rest of the movie, basically, Ralphie tries to have like the perfect Christmas. He tries to haggle for a tree like his dad did, but it's not as hilarious as it is when his dad did it because he just takes like a crappy looking tree and he got it for like really, really cheap. And then, of course, there's like the fire explosion with like putting too many plugs in the outlet and like the whole star thing. Like, first he puts it up, but then like at some point it falls and breaks and he gets like another one, but he breaks into his friend's bar and then that's when he gets like arrested by or stopped by a cop. I'll get to that part a little bit later. And so there's other things he does. We get to see again the whole kids go see Santa Claus thing and they're waiting in line. And so it's the girl daughter of his who talks to Santa. And see, early in the movie, the car radiator keeps messing up and they use like an egg to fix it. Can you actually do that? I've never heard of that. But it was kind of like a cool thing to see. And I like how nonchalant they was with it. And so she talks to Santa and she tells him one thing she wants, but I completely forgot what that is. And then she like whispers in like, his ear. And then she goes down the slide. And then so I was like, yes, like this is like a mystery. What did she ask for? And are they gonna like, make the plot now be about her and trying to get that object? Well, Santa Claus reveals what it is to the elf and it's a radiator for the car. So that surprise was like thrown out. And then so see her next door neighbor, remember all the dogs and everything? Well, of course they had puppies and those puppies grew up and they looked just like the dogs from the first movie. And so the dogs, just like with his dad, they constantly mess with him. So it's like rehashing that. But then the daughter finds a puppy and gives it to the boy next door. And they are friends for the most part, but the boy is kind of like a little rude and stuff. And she's all like, I'll give you this puppy, but yeah, give me something like a reward. And so I'm like, okay, I know exactly what it's going to be. Boom, it's the radiator. And that happens at the end of the movie when she has it for like a Christmas gift. And I'm kind of like, well, we already knew that's probably what it was going to be because, Santa revealed it and stuff. But we don't see her and the boy actually trying to get it. We don't see her going throughout the whole movie trying to get it. So it's just like nostalgia, but not up in the ante. And also with the kids, his kids, the girl is a little bit more fleshed, was seen a lot more than the boy, and she's a lot more sassier. So she has a bit more to do than like his son and everything. And so they get picked on by bullies, just like, him and his friends did. And it's two bullies. And basically it's these two kids on a snow machine type thing. And they just like keep crashing into like everybody's snowman and stuff. And then I think they like picked on the son and messing with him, and the dad had to make it stop. And he's all like, you gotta handle this on your own, like I did and everything. And the bully from the other movie, he's never picked on him since, and they never seen each other. Well, the kids decide they're gonna get back, so they make a snowman. And I'm like, well, what are they gonna do with the snowman? Why are they so happy about it? Well, they're looking out the window and they're just waiting and they're waiting and they're waiting. And then here comes the boys, and then boom, they dress the tree log, the tree stump, as like a snowman. So they go crashing into it. But other than that, the bullies like leave them alone. It's not as bad as like the bully from the first movie. That dude was memorable. So it's just like, okay, they just gave them bullies in the movie just because the first one had it. But then this is the ironic thing. Remember the cop I told you about? The cop is the bully from the first movie. So Ralphie's all like, oh no, he wants his revenge. And you think he's going to get his revenge because instead of taking him to the police station, I'm like, where is he taking him? Oh, he must be taking him home. They're going to just be nice to each other. And that's what happens. And he tells him, after again, like, knocked on my butt, it made me start, like, thinking about stuff. And his kids are the ones that like bust through everybody's snowman and talking about, oh, they're worse than I was and everything. So then he just sends them home and it's all like, Merry Christmas and, and that's it. And I figured that was going to happen. And remember I told you the bully sued Warner Brothers twice because they used his likeness without paying him royalties and everything. And he won. Now he's doing his HBO Max movie. Oh, boy. And so, like, with the wife, like I said, we don't know nothing really about her. And it's funny because Ralphie ends up, well, Ralph, I should say now, he goes by Ralph. He keeps injuring his entire family. The daughter, oh my God, it was so funny. He threw a snowball at her while she was standing on something, hit her dead in the face, and she fell completely and he messed her eye up. Had to wear a patch. The son was sliding down something with the sled and broke his arm. And then the wife went to go ice skating, but she slipped on the porch and broke her ankle. So now she's in crutches. But other than that, we really don't know nothing about her. Don't know how they met or nothing. Ironically, she's played by the wife from Kevin Can't Wait, that CBS show that lasted for 2 seasons. And then Kevin Hart fired her and replaced her with Leah Remini, his former TV wife, because they had better chemistry. And so that made fans pissed, and then they got canceled the next season. And so she was in another show called Kevin Can Go F Himself, which is funny because, she was in the other Kevin show. And so, yeah, so she's in this. And she's a really nice, like, wife and everything. But I'm kind of curious to know how they met and all this other stuff. And what does she do for, like, a living, Because this is the 70s after all. And so I'm trying to think of anything else that I'm missing. The narration. So it's cool to hear Ralphie, or Ralph, I should say, narrate once again, but it's actually the actor, Peter Billingsley. No, I can't say his name. Billingsley. Is him voicing himself, like in the narration, and that's cool. He does a good job in it. However, I wanted it to be like an older sounding man, because that's how it was in the original. It was that was the coolest thing about one in the movie. It was like a little boy, and his narration is done by an older version of him. So I wish they would have got like an older person, or at least somebody who sounded like Gene Shepard. But Gene Shepard's voice is heard in the very last narration at the end of the movie. So that was cool to hear and stuff. And so, like, with Ralphie's dad dying, honestly, if I was doing this movie, I would have had his dad die like a decade ago, and I would have had his mom be the one to die at the beginning of the movie, because he's always seemed closest to his mom in the first movie than he did his dad. Because dad was just there for comedic relief in the first movie, but his mom was there as like, the person who kept him straight in line and, and made sure he did right and all this other stuff. And when he said bad words, made him put soap in his mouth and everything. So it would have been more of an emotional connection if it would have been the mom died. And then we could have really seen him grieve like really hard and try to have the perfect Christmas, but he couldn't. And it would have been nice to let out all that emotion and anger, you know what I'm saying? That's how I would have done it. And, it's weird. Like Ralphie and his wife, they let their kids talk to them all kind of nasty ways. I'm like, dude, put them kids in line, like make them check themselves. And I was really hoping Ralphie would cuss more in this movie, because the first movie had a lot of cussing, and he does cuss like once, but it's not like a big deal. Because Ralphie, when he gets mad and angry when he was younger, he used to get angry, he used to cuss. And here, when he gets angry, it's like he's still just like sad. And he only cusses once, and then when he does get angry, it doesn't like come out in like anger. It just comes out in a nonchalant kind of way. So I wish they would have like upped the ante, made it a bit more edgier and stuff like that, And I really wanted to see him hang out more with his older friends. And there's somebody in this movie called Larry. And I don't know who he is. I was trying to think they kept trying to put so much emphasis on him and him not wanting to go home and see his wife and all this other crap. And I'm just kind of like, is he from the first movie? I couldn't remember. I don't think he is. I literally kept trying to think as hard as I could, and that kind of ruined it for me and stuff. So they could have just left him out. And as for the brother has a good job in India. Don't really know what he does, but he stays in these fancy hotels and he's on the phone and we get to see him very briefly and then he comes home and everything. I would like to see more from Randy, the brother, because the brother was just like hilarious in like the first movie, but the brother didn't really have much to do and much personality, so it would have been nice to see more of what he is when he's older. But for the most part, Ralphie did turn out okay. He's a nice, humble man. He's a writer. He's very passionate. And like, he has a lovely family and he raised them to be pretty good, even though they are a little mouthy at times. But he did good for himself. But it would have been nice to see more of what he's been up to in the past 30 something year or 40 or so, because like, we saw like the picture of him in the military and this and that, but that's about it. Like it would have been nice to know because we get a scene when he's like, "Oh, my very first typewriter," but it would have been nice to see like a flashback and him as a teenager getting like that typewriter or something like that. So for the most part, this is a good movie. It's nice. It's your typical TV Christmas movie. And if you love the first one, then you will enjoy this. They have so much nostalgia in this. It does lean too heavily in nostalgia for the most part, but it is a faithful sequel to that of the original and stuff. And so you will be pleased with this, but it's kind of like, you kind of want more, like, what I'm saying? And like more character development and more drama and more grief and everything, and stuff. But I would love to see this continuing like a TV series or something like that, because that would be cool. Because who doesn't love Ralphie, man? Like the dude, that's still like my favorite Christmas movie. And I forgot all about that. I just bought it on DVD today and everything. I mean, it's Ralphie, man. It was so cool to see him grown up, even though I saw him already in Iron Man in that Spider-Man movie, but I had no idea that was him. Oh, I know I was leaving something out. The toys. So he went on like a shopping spree with all the money they had, and it was like a big encouragement thing for him because he bought as many toys as he could on like a budget. And then next thing you know, he had them in the trunk. He had to go do something else, and then all the toys get stolen. I'm like, no. And I'm like, why didn't they call the cops or nothing like that? Because then we could have saw the bully a whole lot earlier in the movie instead of much later. And so when the gifts gets taken, like he's sad, but he's not like angry. And I wanted to see him like angry, but he's just sad. And so they have to like, break the news to the kids, but they don't tell them what happened. They're all like, this year, let's just have good intentions and everything. They're like, whoa, what are you skipping out on the gifts for? And then the kids get pissed. So the kids are more angry than like the parents were when the gifts got stolen and stuff. And I kind of was hoping that this would be like the plot of him trying to get the toys back and had his friends help him, but none of that. He doesn't even let his friends know like what happened, doesn't let the cops know what happened. So it's kind of like the writing could have been stronger for these little plot like threads and everything. Bah humbug, that was a good episode. All right, everybody, I'll talk to you later. Bye.